So we are going to build this out a little bit more today. This is the Facebook clone that we designed that we pulled from Paul's design here. Looks really great. And you can see that when you follow a design, it ends up looking a lot better than when you don't. And we also made sure to make it responsive, at least somewhat responsive, although it kind of breaks right around here. So we could talk about that later, but I want to move beyond just the pure design for today and get into some of the database issues. And we're going to kind of cover database and the workflows and logic at the same time because it's kind of hard to do database without something tangible to connect it. So if you remember, the three parts of Bubble are design, data, and logic. And so we did design last week, and this week we're going to look at mostly data, but logic too. So when you look at this, let's think about the database. When you look at this, what items in here are things that are not going to live in the database? They're going to live in the design. And what are things that are going to live in the database? So let's start with this up here. It says Facebook clone.
No, he's
Is
speaking
this
about it,
text? Do
you
we
don't
think?
see that. You see that?
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing, you're cutting out a little bit. You must be still uploading the video, short of memory.
Maybe. So this text up here, this is Facebook clone. Do we think that this should live in the database or should this live in the page design?
Design.
Design. Okay, who said that? Was that Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, why design?
Well, because it's not going to need to be updated. That's just going to be the same thing that's up there no matter what.
Yeah, we're not going to change the name of our website very often. I mean, I guess we could get really we could overthink it a lot and change our name a bunch of times. But even with that, we could probably just go in and change it manually. So we're not going to be changing the name of our website very often. So there's no need to store it in the database. And also, the name of the website is going to be there on day one when we launch our site. And it's never going to change. And it never gets created. It never gets changed. And it never gets deleted. So none of the things that a database does, creating, reading, writing, and deleting, well, the only thing that we actually need is to read it. We don't need to create. We don't need to write to it. We don't need to edit it or delete it. So this is definitely something that we don't want to be in the database. We want to just write this into our app. And that's actually what we've done here. So this right here, this is what some people call hard coding. And of course, this is not code. This is no code. But this text up here is typed directly into the app. That's called hard coding. In other words, it's not dynamic. So if I were to insert dynamic data instead, that would be dynamic. But this is not dynamic. This is hard coded. And that's good. So what about this section? Is there anything in here that we think should be dynamic, should be in the database? Should I start calling on people? Feven, are you in a place where you can answer? What do you think? Do you think there's anything in this side menu here that should be in the database? Not hearing anything. How about Gurma?
Hey, Brandon, it should be
Yes.
on a workflow, not only database.
What should be on the workflow?
The one on the menu in the home, it should be
Yeah.
on the workflow, not on database.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see there being workflows as you interact with those elements.
Mhm.
There's going to be some logic. But there's nothing in the database. Again, like this is stuff that's going to be there from day one and it's never going to change.
Yep.
Okay, so what about this section here?
What type of group?
I
Say
think
that again? It's a group?
What type of group?
This one?
Yeah.
It's a repeating group, I think.
A
That's
repeating group?
repeating group is gonna be going to the database.
And the information's going to be from the database.
Yeah, it should be on the database, this one.
Yeah. 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 So the repeating group here is going to have information from a database. So all of these individual little posts here on this person's wall are coming from the database. What about these friend suggestions over here?
The same thing, repeating group.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
It's because this under the same logo.
Yeah.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the same. It's a repeating group, and we've got some things we're reading from the database. So, it's interesting that Facebook is such a wild success, but the fundamental features of it, at least when it first came out, were pretty simple. Like what I'm seeing here is maybe 1, 2 major data groups, types of data types. And I'm sure as we look into it, we might change our plan, but off the top of my head, I only see 2 data types that are needed. So it's kind of interesting taking a step back and thinking about what data are we going to need before we do anything else. And just looking at the design, it's at least initially pretty simple, although once you get into it, it can get more complex. So let's talk through what this is. So this right here is obviously a form input, and it allows you to post. You click that button and you post the text to the person's wall that you're looking at. So whoever's wall you're looking at, you're posting it to their wall. And then it goes down here. So this is a list of posts, and this is how you create a post up here. And then these are people that you're not connected to, who you can connect to. So let's start by building the login real quick, because we need to log in. And I'm going to use a component for that because there is a component. If you click on this components element up here, this says components, and then scroll down to this pop-up here, sign up login pop-up. It's a nice and easy one. You drag it in, and it is a pop-up, so that means it won't be visible on the page until you tell it to be visible. And so I want this pop-up to be visible when somebody clicks either login or sign up. So I'm going to click on this login, and I'm going to add a workflow to show the pop-up. So I'm adding the workflow, I'm adding the first action here, the first step, and I'm going to type the word show to show an element. If I didn't remember that it was called show, I could have come down here and looked at element actions and then found show right there. And what element are we going to show? Multiple choice question, and the first answer is oftentimes the correct answer, pop-up, sign in, login. And if we click preview, we can see if it actually works. So I'm going to hover over login and click. Ta-da! All right. Now, the pop-up will not work until we create an action. So this sign up button does not have a workflow yet. So you click add workflow. And now this is what happens when they sign up. We are going to create an account, sign the user up. Okay, we're going to get the email. And what's the name of that input for email? It is input sign up email. So I'm going to type input sign up. There it is, email. I'm gonna get the value from it. Do the same thing, input. I'm guessing it's password. No, what is it? Oh, input sign up password. There it is. The value. And this is got a confirmation. So if we click require password confirmation, it'll get that second password right here and use that to make sure that it's the same as the first one. Group re-enter passwords value. Actually, this is not right. This is not a group. Wrong. Clear that out. You see, I right clicked on it and I clicked clear to erase that. It's input, sign up, re-enter password. There we go. The value. Okay. So believe it or not, this creates the user. This actually signs up the user. That's all you need to do to create an account. We also have a name up here, and that's super important. So we need to make changes to the user and add that name. So we're going to add a username field to the user. We're going to get the input name. Wait a minute, what did I do wrong? I think I might have created that incorrectly. Yeah, look at this. I set the username to be a user. The type of the username is user. So what's the problem with this? Why can't the username be a user?
Yeah, we need to provide the text.
Text,
It used to
smart,
text, yeah.
much smarter. Okay, we're going to delete this. I'm going to start a new one called username. This one's going to be a text. That should be a lot better. So username is now the input sign up names value text. Good. So we sign up the user and then we add the username. And now we have an account. Okay, so I just created an account and signed in. My pop-up didn't go away. So we should add a last step here. Hide an element, the pop-up. And that'll make it go away. Now let's think about the actual app here where you're connected to a user. How should we connect two users to each other? Actually, let's think about this particular page. Maybe we'll create, we're gonna have to change Paul's design slightly because he doesn't have, on this one, there's not a username
name.
anywhere,
Yeah.
but maybe we could put that up in the left or something. So let's just put a username. We're gonna get some text, put it up in the left, and we're gonna get the current users, or actually we'll get the pages user. So we need to get we want this page to be different when you look at different users. So on the page itself, we're going to assign a type because this page is going to be the home page for different users. So the type of this page, you see I clicked on index, the type of this page is now going to be user. And what that means is that when you visit this page, you're going to be looking at a particular user. And once we've done that, then we can get the current page's user and show their name. And I'm going to style this by deleting the fixed width and letting that be full width, deleting the height so that it's native height. And then I'm going to give it a heading size. Whoa, maybe a little too big. Something like that. Okay. So it didn't work because there's no, well, it worked, but it didn't, we're not seeing anything because there's no user being given here. And so I think we can set a default by going to the workflow and saying when the page is loaded, I'm setting a new condition. And the condition is we want to see that there's no user on the page. So when this page's user, I think it's actually current page's user, yeah, is empty. Then we're going to set the current page's user. So we're gonna, it's an element action in here where we're changing a group. I think this is what we're doing. So element action group display data, but the group is actually, it's not a group, it's actually the page, but a page is kind of a group. And the data we're going to display is just the current user. So that sends the current user in. Why did that not work? Data should be empty. Oh, you're not allowed to pick index. So you're not allowed to set the index for a group. Maybe I've got the wrong thing in here. I think the other way you could do this, so it made sense to me that you could pick a group and it even let me select it. But when I open this error box, it's saying the data should be empty, but right now it's a user and index is not a possible option. I'm getting 2 errors from this. So basically it's saying you can't do this where you display the data using this method, which is a shame because that would be super easy. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to redirect the page to itself. Sorry, did somebody have something? Somebody have a question or something?
No.
Nope. Okay. So instead, we're going to redirect this page to itself. So we're going to do go to page. And the destination will be this same page, but now we're going to send some data and it's the current user. So that will work. So it's like we're going to change the page, but we're not actually going to change the page. We're just going to make the current user show up in the page. And you'll see when I reload this that everything will stay the same from here up to here actually. But from here on, there's going to be a new thing, which will be the user's ID. It'll be a bunch of random numbers. So I'll refresh it and we'll hit this step by step if I can catch it in time.
Yeah.
Couldn't catch it in time. I'll delete it and start over. There we go. Wait, actually, let me delete this so we can actually step through in the debugger. There we go. Oh, okay, here it is. So I just caught it. So it's loaded the page and there's no user. And so page is loaded and current page user is empty. That happened. And this condition is true. That's what this little green thing means is here's the condition only when current page's user is empty. And if you want to know more about this, you can click on it and see the actual values. Like here's the current page's user, empty. Is empty? Yes. And it's green telling you this condition evaluated to true. Now we're going to click run next. It'll take us to the next step, which is just this one, go to page index. And we're going to send the current user. And if you look at the current user, the unique ID is this. And then in the next step, you'll see this unique ID show up in the URL. There it is. And now it runs the same workflow again. Page is loaded, but current page user is not empty because there is a user. So is empty is false, which means this is red and we don't reload again. We're not stuck in an infinite loop. And now we've got the username up here. So now I'm on Brenton's wall. It's kind of aligned wrong, isn't it? So we can fix this. If I had the design, it would be better. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the text center aligned, and I'm also going to give it padding. Let's say 12 pixels around to make it a little nicer.
Mhm.
Okay. So we need to get to the data section pretty soon, where we have this post and then the information here. But before we do that, we still have to think through how to connect to people, because if we just start making the data, if we just start building it without thinking through this data structure first, we might regret what we're doing later. And there's a lot of ways you could do this, but let's just think for a moment. How would you connect to users? Let's look at our database. Let's look at our user. Right now, our user contains a username and an email, like all the default stuff. So what would you do in the database to say this user is friends with this user? User A is friends with user B, and user B is friends back with user A. So this is not like Twitter, where you can follow somebody and they don't follow you back. This is Facebook, where the two people together become friends of each other. So it's a two-way connection. It's not a one-way connection. Twitter is a one-way connection where I can follow one other person if I want to, and then they don't even have to know I exist, and they don't have to give me any permission to follow them. But Facebook is a little bit different. So what would you do?
We send a friend request. We send friend request.
Send a friend request. But what would the database do? So you send a friend request and they accept. Now, how do we document that the friendship is now Facebook official?
We create another data.
Create another data. How would you do that? What would you do?
Gonna post.
Say that again. A
A
post?
post. Yeah.
The database name is post, and I feel we need to build the database first. Then
Yeah.
Possibly.
So we need so you're saying a new data type called post, but I'm talking about even before you post, we need to document that two people are friends, right?
So when two people become friends, would you alter, or first you would alter or create a new field inside of the users?
Yeah.
And maybe it would have an array type? Is that a thing?
Okay, so you're using code language instead of bubble language, but I get what you're saying. So you
Like a
create a new
list?
field,
Yeah.
and we'd
Yeah.
say friends,
Mhm.
and the friends would be what? Users?
Yeah.
And we would make it multiple because you could have more
Multiple,
than
yeah.
one friend.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. And when two people become friends, you update that field for each user.
Okay. So
They're gonna put you on a picture or profile.
let's think through this a little bit. Let's say that I'm going to be friends with Paul now, and we become friends. So I get in my user a new friend in here with with a link to Paul's user. And then we're done, right? Or is there more?
no,
We need more.
we need to build one more unfriend.
One more what?
Unfriend.
And friend?
Unfriend, yeah.
Oh, unfriend.
It-
So
yeah.
but I'm still thinking about the friend issue.
Okay.
I'm still thinking about so you're ready to move on to new features. I'm not ready yet. I want to
Well,
think through this a little more. Because there's more to it than if I'm friends with Paul,
Paul needs
I
to be
add
friends
Paul
with
to my
you.
list of friends. Something else has to happen, right?
It should be. I'll put you on a profile picture. So each is
He needs to
to
be
know
friends
each
with-
other.
Or now you need to be friends with Paul.
Yeah, so profile pictures I think is yet another feature, but in terms
Okay.
of just the friendship, yeah, I think that the missing connection here is if I have Paul on my list of friends, but Paul doesn't have me on his list of friends, then it's a one-way relationship, not a two-way relationship. Because I want, if Paul is in my list of friends, that means that I can, I don't know, it depends on how you write it, but it means that he's my friend. But if I'm not on his list of friends, it means that I'm not his friend. And so it means we're both friends and not friends. So we have to have both users have both friends together. Each user has to have each other on the friend list of friends. And so the way that works is when a connection is made, you have to get both users and get this field for both users and then add each other to it. And then somebody, who was that, mentioned unfriending. When you unfriend, you have to find both users and unfriend from both. And if you ever make a mistake in keeping them out of sync, like you remove one from one friend but not the other, or add one to one and not the other, then your data is out of sync and the app will break. So I think you could build it this way and it would work, but I actually want to propose another way. I'm going to delete this. That's called a join data type. And what a join data type is it's an entirely new type of data. We're going to create it over here. I'm just going to call this a friendship. And what it does is the friendship documents or joins two different things. It documents a relationship between two different things. So in this case, the friendship would contain two different friends, which are users. There's lots of different ways you could do this. Like right now I'm doing a list of users, but it needs to always be two. But you could say friend A and friend B. But my thought is, if you have this friendship join, one, that keeps the user a little bit cleaner, removes the need for that database field. But two, now we only have to keep one thing up to date. And so we just create that friendship. Does this make sense or is this confusing? Because joins were very confusing to me for a long time. They're still confusing, honestly.
Yeah, it's great because I use on only the friends, but now it's good. Friend joins good.
Friend join is good.
Yeah.
Any questions on this? Let's
so-
build it out. Yeah, go ahead.
So, a list of users is always two users? Is that what I'm,
No, multiple,
whoa,
multiple.
Yep, that's how this is. Maybe we could improve that. You have a thought on improving it?
the only thought I have is instead of adding those field or adding a field of friends to the user, you're just adding a field of friends here. So you're just creating a new field in a new data type as opposed to creating a new field in a repurposed data type.
Yeah. So are you kind of questioning why it would be better to
Oh,
have?
no, I'm not questioning. I think that that's
Okay.
a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think even if you're not questioning it, I think it's worth asking, why is it better to have a list of users on this data type versus a list of users on this data type? And I think the answer to that question is that if you have it on this data type, there's two items that need to be updated anytime you make a change. Whereas here it's only one because it's connected between two. So let's put this into practice a little bit. We're going to need a list of all the users over here. So I'm going to grab a repeating group. Let's start building a list, at least to start with, of all users. We can improve this later, I think. Let's just make all users. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, get rid of that width, get rid of the height. Okay, and make it a column. Actually, each one's going to be a row, I think. And then in here, we have one column, infinite rows, and make it 1 pixel tall. Or 0. All right. Now that we've done that, we're going to get a couple things. We want text to be the user's name, and we want an icon so that we can add it. And I think we can do a plus in here for add. Am I departing from, oh, look at this. I'm totally departing from the designs. The designs have this icon. Is that in the icon pack? Let's see. Person? No, we're gonna have to get a new icon. User? There we go. That's close enough. There's a little plus user. That's similar to Paul's. Later we might have to get that exact icon to match his design. But so here, before we actually get too deep, let's line this up. Make sure it's in the repeating group. I'm going to drag it in. Drag it in. Okay, it's actually in the repeating group. Good. Now let's make this repeating group a list of users. We want to just get all the users that we can connect to. Now, how are we going to get the users in terms of the data source?
Parent groups, I think.
Say again?
No,
From the friend who joins, I think.
When
no,
the friend joins? I think that's the right way to do it once.
do a search for.
Yeah. So the friend joins is a good idea. Do a search for. Certainly, we need to do a search for.
Yeah, go ahead and find it.
Initially, you're not going to have any friends. So I think at first we could maybe, just to make it
Yeah.
easy on ourselves, search for all users with no constraints. So this will now just be a list of all users. And maybe even we can add some smart stuff later to decide what the data source is here. But let's go ahead and build this out now, because I want to get to what this will look like. The current cell is user's name. And this has a height to it, doesn't it? Yes, going to delete that height. And we're going to delete the width. We're going to put this into like the standard thing that everything should look like. And then this is a little bit, you notice how this is higher than that? Like what is, it looks like here it's roughly the same height. So we're going to try to make this roughly the same height. Make it 25. It's roughly the same height. And we're going to center align this so that it's centered on there. And when you click this button, that is what I want to get to right now. There's still a lot of other stuff we have to do, but this is the adding of the users to each other. And in Facebook, it's more complicated than this, right? Because in Facebook, when you click this, it doesn't instantly add. It actually sends a request. But I want to skip that and get straight to like when the actual addition happens. So let's just kind of make this work. We're going to create a join. And the join contains, we're going to change friends. We're going to add the current cells user. We're going to also add the current user. So we're adding the two users. So that's the join. But what about when they haven't accepted yet?
Only two people.
We need to document that this is a friend request that has not been accepted yet. So how can we do that?
Reject.
Reject, accept and reject.
Mhm.
But right now, if I build this join right now, this join says that these two friends are friends with each other. As soon as I click that button, let's refresh this and take a look. Oh, there's only myself. But as soon as I click this button, there's only one user on the account. As soon as I click this button, we should probably make a new user, huh? I need to actually sign out, but I don't have a sign out button. I can make a new user. manually. And this is Jake. Did y'all know you can do that? You can manually edit the database like that.
Yeah, I did it.
It didn't work. Maybe you
New entry, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, new entry.
New entry.
say what?
New entry.
Yeah, I just did that, didn't I? It didn't work. Maybe users you can't create. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it didn't work. I'm not going to keep trying over and over. I think we just need a logout button. Actually, we should make it look the same. When you're logged in, we're going to change it to say logout. So when current user is logged in,
I love it.
we're going to make the text of this button say log out.
Oh,
And we're going to change the workflow. So this workflow is when they're logged out. And now I'm going to copy this and paste and change it to a second condition when they're logged in. And we're just going to log the user out. Just needed that functionality in order to add another user. I can log out. I can create a new account. Oh, it's already in use. There we go. There we go. So now I am Jack. Oh, I see the issue. Did you see that? When I was over here, I could see both when I was on the Brenton user. But when I moved to Jack, I could only see myself. And I think it's a permissions issue. So we can't see, we don't have permissions on users to see information about them. So we need to make them findable in searches and make the username available. There we go. I didn't catch that right away. Nobody else caught it either. So I'm Jack right now.
Okay.
Is that right? Let me just double check that. Yeah, so I'm Jack and I want to be friends with Brenton. Now, how do I document this? Because if I click this button right now, we'll show step by step. It's going to create a new friendship join, and this join will say that we're friends. But what if Brenton doesn't want to be friends with Jack? What if Brenton wants to reject it? How can we modify this to take that into account?
Would we want to create some
On-prem.
data fields that track if the friendship request is either pending, accepted, or rejected?
That's a great idea. Yeah, and should we have that? That should live on this join, right? Now, if we have those three options, what should we just like? What type of field should this be that we're going to create? So let's say status. What type of field should this be?
it should be yes or no.
Yes or no?
Mhm.
Well, what would
Text, I think.
text? It could be text, and then the text could be like it could be pending or accepted.
Yeah.
But if we do that, we're hard coding it again, and that means that in our workflow, we're going to have to, let's see, where is our workflow for when they join? We're going to have to say status is, and we're going to have to remember how to spell accepted. And if I ever make a typo or if I forget the key word, then there'll be a problem. By the way, Bubble doesn't even really like you to hard code things in dynamic fields like this. Like it's hard for me to get it to the state where it even lets me put text in there. But this is hard coded, and I could do it this way, but this is a perfect opportunity to not hard code something, but instead use what's called an option set. So in your data types over here, option sets, oh, there's a tutorial. We don't need that tutorial. I'm giving the tutorial. We can create a new option set called friendship status. And here we can add different options. So pending was one, accepted. And then later, if we want to have some other statuses like blocked or rejected or things like that. Actually, we probably do need rejected. Then we can add them in here, and we never have to remember how to spell accepted ever again because it just comes from this list. So let me show what that actually looks like. Instead of status accepted, let's go back to our data, go back to the user. We're going to delete, sorry, we're going to go to the friendship join. We're going to delete this status that's text, and we're going to replace it with a status that is that option set. And we name that option set friendship status. So here it is. And by default, it's going to be pending. And so now when we create this friendship request, the status is going to be pending. You see how I could just pick it from that dropdown? Pending, accepted, rejected. So I don't have to type it in, and I don't have to remember how it's spelled. So that's exactly what an option set is for. It's perfect. Okay. So
Hey, Brenton,
yes.
could you explain why we are adding the current user twice?
Adding the current user
cell
twice?
user, the current cell user to friends.
Oh, yeah, this was a mistake. I meant to type the current user. I guess I typed it wrong. You're right. It should be current cells user and then current user.
Current user.
Yep. Thanks for catching that because that would have caused a problem later. That was just a mistake. So we should be adding the current cell, which is this one over here. So if, like, for example, right now this user is Jack, and if Jack clicks on Brenton, Brenton is the current cell and Jack is the current user. And so you're right. It should absolutely be current cells user and current user. So let's do that and just see what happens. I'm going to set this to step by step. I'm going to try to add Brenton, and it sets this join up, sets the status as pending, and it adds the two users, and we're done. Now, if we look in our database, we look at the joins, we see this pending join. And then we must have created this earlier by accident. Just delete that because we're not going to think about that right now. Okay, now we need to build the other side of it, right? The friendship request. And then now the other user, Brenton, can accept or reject it. I'm going to log in as Brenton. And you notice I'm having to fix this every time to go back to my homepage. Oh, it's Brenton test. No, what's happening? Maybe the login doesn't work yet. I thought it would just work automatically. Here, let's just run as this user to get it logged in that way. Actually, it's kind of weird, right? This database is not showing any other users, even though we had 3. I think this might be a bubble bug right now, because there's certainly more than this one user. We just saw it. But yeah, that's weird. But okay, so we're logged in as Brenton now. Okay, so Brenton now, I should see some sort of a notification that tells me that I have a friend request waiting for me, right? So first off, let's decide where that should be. Maybe up here above this, or over here maybe.
I think in the left side.
Left side? Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds
the
good.
left side.
I'm gonna copy and paste this just because it's easier than dragging a new one in and fixing all the stuff. I'm gonna make it smaller, maybe header 6 that says it's hard-coded. Pending friend requests. And this is, I'm going to put another text here and put these into a group column. And this, actually, I want this to be in a repeating group because it's all the pending friend requests. So I'm going to put a repeating group and I'm going to drag this inside it. Whoa, and that's why you don't drag. Wow, that went crazy. Okay, we're going to reveal an element tree. Did it do it? Reveal an element tree. There, and then drag it into the repeating group.
Again.
This is dragging in the element tree is much safer than trying to drag outside. Okay, and this shouldn't say pending friend request. This should say the name of the friend. So we need to set up the repeating group to be a join. And the data source will be do a search for friendship joins, where the friends contains current user, and where the status is pending. We're going to get rid of the rows again and make that a 1 pixel high. Okay, so this is now a repeating group of all of the joins where it's pending and I'm one of them, which is close to right. There's one thing missing. And we're going to show the friend's name, and we're going to get, so we have a list of the friends. We're going to filter it now. Says we only want the friend that's not me. So we're going to say the, let's see, this filter, how does this work? You have to, you can't put like something like friend directly, like the actual user, but you can do the ID. So the ID is not, that's what this means, is not my ID, which is the current user's ID. So that filter is a little tricky, but that gets the one that's not me. We get the name. Oh, why is it doing that? Oh, it's still fixed width. Let's make it row. There we go. So now when I refresh, we should see pending friend request, but we're not seeing it. Why not? Let's use the inspect tool to find out. This repeating group is called repeating group friendship join. So in here, I'm going to type friendship join. There it is, repeating group friendship join. That'll highlight it for me. And if I scroll down in here and I look at my data source, search for friendship joins is empty. So there's no results to that search. That's surprising to me. Here's a friendship join. So why did that work? Status friend contains current user and status is pending. Was status pending on this? Yep. Current user. I think Bubble's database is having problems. I don't know. Or is this something that I did wrong? Anybody see an error with how I did this search here?
Let me see.
The search was here. Search for friendship joins where friends contains me because it's only friendship requests and where the status is still pending. I'm gonna refresh this. I don't know if that'll fix anything. Nope, I don't want to pay for Bubble right now. Well, I'm stumped. So when Bubble breaks like this, and you're totally stumped, it can be frustrating, but sometimes you just have to keep working at it and figure out what you did wrong. Sometimes you have to move on. Was that a question from someone?
It was just me. I was just asking if you tried refreshing the page,
This page?
the editor page.
Oh yeah. Let's do both again. I did refresh it, but let's do it one more time. I did a hard refresh, which means I just held shift as I refreshed. So yeah, that's definitely there, right? You know what? I think I know what it is. So we can blame it on Bubble, or we can hold ourselves accountable. I think that it's a permissions issue. So that search returned nothing, but it's because we have a privacy rule here that says that you can't find it in searches. So we want to say that you can only find it in searches if you are in the list. So we don't want it to be just visible to anybody because we might have secret friendships. We want to make this a new rule that says like request or requested, invited maybe. No, we'll say friend requested person. Maybe person receiving request. That's maybe the best way to do it. And so this friendship joins friends contains current user. And now we allow viewing. And there we go, shows up. So we're going to go back here and we're going to add the accept and reject buttons. So this, we need to make it prettier because we've ruined Paul's beautiful layout. But it is 8:57, so I don't want to spend too much time on the layout this week. So we just need, first up, I'm going to make this say Jack, so it's visibly smaller here. We need a button. Drag that in. Make sure they're in the right order. And we'll say accept or reject. Copy, paste. And I'm going to make these next to each other. So I'm going to highlight both of them with shift, click on both, right click and say group in a row. They kind of didn't fit in that row, did they? We probably can size things down a little bit. Let's make these 120. And it's kind of interesting how they disappear like that. I don't think they should yet. Why are they disappearing? We'll blame that on Bubble too. Whenever there's something I don't understand, it's not my fault, it's Bubble's fault, right? So I legitimately am confused why unchecking fit width to content makes it disappear. We need more Bubble experts in here to answer questions like this. But the other thing we could do is we can maybe say make it 100% width. Same kind of concept. And I think accept traditionally is on the right. And I don't like how big these are. Let's make them 100 pixels by 30. Okay, it's already small. Okay, and then reject needs to be red. So we're just going to change the color. We'll just make it, it doesn't need to be red. It can be this outline button style. Although it increased the size. Okay. So when you accept, what's going to happen? Did I lose everyone? It's 9 o'clock. It's pretty late. So what's going to happen when you accept?
When you accept here, the jug need to be removed over there.
What's going to be removed? Oh, Jack will be removed from the pending friend request. Yes.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen in the database that'll make that happen?
I think we need to do the workflow over there.
A workflow? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So
They'll be added to each other's friends list.
yeah. So we already have that join. So can we modify that join to make them become friends? Let's start there. Make changes to, and we're going to make changes to that join, the friendship join. And I'm going to click add all fields to see what we can do. We can change the friends and we can change the status. Should we change either of those? Probably not the friends, because it's the same friends. The status, we could change it. Right now it's pending. So we can change it to accepted. And if we do that, it'll make it so that it no longer appears in this list, because this list is only looking for those who are pending. And so it disappears. Now, if we had done this the other way, where the user had a list of friends, all that stuff we just did would have been probably a little bit more complicated. So this join actually ended up simplifying things for us because we've got a status. Like if you have a list of friends on the user, how would you have set when something was pending? And how do you set when it's accepted and how do you set when it's rejected? So the join data type can help make things a little bit easier. So at this point, we're now friends, but we haven't built out the rest of this. So we probably need to think through what are some of the other things that need to happen. Like now I should be able to go to my friends' pages and I should be able to click on their wall and add some content. And going back to our design here. So if I click on my friends, I want to see a list of my friends. And last thing I'll fix before, because it's now 9:03, there's one last thing I want to get to, which is this pending friend requests. I'll show it by picking a different one. I think the last person we connected to was it Jake or Jack? I should have named them differently.
It was Jack.
It was Jack. Okay. So let's connect to Jake now. Okay. Now here's the problem. So when I clicked on Jake, see what happened? Pending friend requests, Jake. So this is what Jake should see. Jake should see me on his pending friend request, but instead I'm seeing my outgoing friend request.
Friend request.
Does that make sense? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you want to see your own, but you can't accept your own, right? I can't now accept on Jake's behalf. So we need to filter this view so that we're only seeing the pending requests that I'm a part of, where I wasn't the one who created that request. So how can we do that? Let's go back to this repeating group. We want to change what this shows. So right now it's showing all the joins that are pending where I am one of the friends in the join. But we want to make it so that it's now only ones where I didn't create this join. Does that make sense? So we can actually set created by is not current user. That means I'm not the one who created this friend request. And so updating this search now will mean that I won't see my own friend requests that I initiated, that I started in here. And when we refresh, we didn't make any database changes. We just changed the filter on this. So when we refresh, what will happen to this Jake?
Disappear.
Yeah, disappears because Jake needs to see it, not me. I sent the request to him, so it should be on his wall, not on mine. So this page, this app now, we've made it not look pretty, so we need to clean that up. But we've got some fundamental bones built here. We have the friend request structure built. And now we can know if when I'm looking at a wall, if I'm friends with that person or not. And we can use that to decide whether or not I'm allowed to write on their wall, for example. And we can also update how this sidebar works. Right now it's just showing all users, but we could put some search in here to search for users. We could make it a little bit smarter. So maybe I only see suggested friends, like let's look at this, friend suggestions. Maybe our friend suggestions are, I just look at my friend's friends. That might be a good way to make a suggestion. So at this point, there's a lot you can do, but we've kind of set up the foundation, the basics. Was anybody expecting to get farther along than this in 1 hour?
No, we're good.
We're good?
And that's good going. We slowly, we understand everything.
That's good. It's good if you're understanding.
Yeah.
I think the original Facebook probably took a lot longer than an hour to build, so it's fine for us to take a little longer than an hour as well. Cool. Any questions on what we did so far tonight? I think we're out of time, but I can hang out for a little bit and answer questions. We can talk about other things.
Yeah. I got a question. When we did the friendly join, we put the option, right? The reject and the accept. We put the three things, right? When the friend asks the request, he need to see over there. They need to come to in the front page, right? The one we put the option. So right here we didn't see them. I'm confused over there a little bit.
So I think you're saying when I send a friend request to Jake or Jack, Jake or
Yeah.
Jack now need to see it on their page, right?
Yeah, Jack, when he see, he need to show up over there, the one we put the option, right?
Yeah. So right now I'm logged in as Brenton, so I'm not seeing the request that I made. But if I log out and then log back in as that user, and now they're all showing up. See, earlier they were not showing up. That was so odd. But if I log in as Jake now, Jake sees the request that Brenton made. Is this what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the reason that happens, it's the same exact reusable right here, this reusable, but it's just excluding whoever the current user is. So when I'm logged in as Jake, I see it because the join was not created by Jake. And this little symbol right here means not. So not created by Jake. When I'm logged in as Brenton, this means not created by Brenton. And it was created by Brenton. So it doesn't match the conditions, and the record is not part of that repeating group.
Why it didn't show up? I think when in your page, still the pending friend request is showing to in the person who sent to the request, right? So why he show up the pending request? He need to show up in the person who get the request, right?
The person who sent the request?
Yeah, in your page, we are looking at the pending friend request. Why we saw there?
Yeah, so we oh, like the words pending friend request still?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you're right. We should fix that. That's not because there's 0 pending friend requests at that point. So we can actually, let's do it real quick. So this group is all friend requests. So I'm going to rename this to pending friend requests. And well, first off, it's just so close to the edge. So I can't help myself. It's not what we're working on right now, but I need to just give it a little bit of padding, so it's not so close to everything. Oh, and now this is 100%. I still don't understand why this breaks and disappears when I click that. I still don't get that. Why is that? I don't understand. Is there like a fixed width in here somewhere that I lost track of? Row, text, row. No. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. I don't know why that is like that. But yeah, so we've got the pending friend request group here, and we want to hide the whole thing. So when do we want to hide it? It's when the repeating group is empty. So the name of the repeating group is repeating group friends join, I think. Yep. So the entire thing we want to hide when the repeating group friends join. That's the one. What are we going to get from it? We're going to get the list, and we're going to count the list. And when the count is what?
0.
0.
Yeah.
When the count is 0, then we hide it. Alternatively, we could have this be hidden by default. So here, first let's look at it the way it is now. So when it's 0, and I'm not even logged in as anyone. Let's log in as Brenton. So when it's 0, it's hidden. The other way we could do that same exact thing is it could be hidden by default, because right now, if I refresh for just a moment, do you see that when I refresh?
Yeah.
It's there for just a moment and then it disappears. A little flash of the wrong content there. So this is something that is probably off most of the time anyway, but we don't want it to flash if it shouldn't be there. So we can say element is visible on page load no, and collapse it as well. So now it's just completely hidden, and switch this condition to turn it on instead of turning it off. So we check this to be on, and then instead of saying is 0, we're going to say is more than 0. So when the list is more than 0, we show it. So it has the exact same logical effect, but now when I refresh, you won't see that little flash for just a second before it gets the data right. So you see I'm refreshing, and it looks cleaner this way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other topics we want to talk about before we call it a day?
What do you see like we click on the Jack or Jack?
If we click on what?
Jack or Jack, so what happened on it?
Oh yeah. So we already I think, made friends with these people
Mm.
or have a request out, but we are still allowing the exact same, we're still allowing the friend request to happen. So let's just look in here, the join. We have this join created by me, Brenton Test, going to test 2. I think that was Jack. And this one is pending. But I still have this button, so let's click it again and see what happens. Come back over here again. Look at that. So now we have the exact same thing created by the same person and going to the same person. We've got the same join twice now. So that's not great. So we probably need to add some logic to hide this if there is a join for that person. And we can look at that real quick if you want to go into this, right click, reveal element, so I can find that repeating group. We can set this to say where the, let's see, what's the best way to do this? I think maybe rather than doing it in the search, because it's kind of hard in the search to get at it, we could filter afterwards. We want to get the users where a join does not exist. Yeah, this is a little bit tricky. We could search. We could remove. There's another way to do this. There's a filter. There's something else called a intersect. Actually, that's not intersect. Intersect is if you have 2 lists, it gives you only the items that are in both lists. But what I really want to do is minus. I want to subtract a list. So I've got my list of users. Now I want to subtract any users that are in a join. So here we can do a search for the joins and get where the friends contains current user. And this will not show me any users that already have a join of any kind. But this is getting joined, so it'll break. I'll click away and you'll see it turns red. So I'm trying to minus lists that are 2 different types, users from friendship joins. So what I have to do is from the friendship joins, I have to get each item's friends, yeah, because friend is a user type. So if we remember in here, in the join, friends is actually a list of users. I should make that clear. Users. So now each item's friends user. So now we're having a list of users minus a list of users, and now it's blue. And so if I refresh, what's going to happen here? That's actually the way it should be, because I've removed any joins that I'm a part of, and I've already connected to all those people. I'm connected to myself and I'm connected to either of them, or I have a pending request. So this app will be much more useful when we have more users, right?
Quick question. So what happens after they accept the friend request? Where would it indicate that you guys are friends? Jake or Jack or you?
Yeah, so right now, nowhere. That's kind of the homework. So right now we have the join is created and the join is accepted. So here's 2 pending, but here's one that's accepted. So this join says test 3, which I think is Jake, is friends with Brenton. I really should have named these better. This is very confusing, right? But this join now says that these 2 people are friends, these 2 users, I should say.
Right.
Now the app needs to show that information somehow, right?
Yep.
And we just have to build that. So you could have, you know, in an original design, we got this My Friends thing.
Mhm.
So you
Like
could
a
build
sentence.
out, depending on how you want this to look, it could be that right under here, you know, coming down like this could be very similar to this, where it's a list of all of your friends that is just always populated there. That could be one way of doing it. And another way of doing it could be just by permissions. Like if I were to go and visit the, right now I'm on my own page. This is my username. But if I were to go visit a different user, let's see if I can even get that to happen. If I go back, one of these is going to be a different user, right? I'm going to get the information from a different user, Jake. I'm going to get the ID and I'm going to go visit Jake's page. So I'm visiting Jake's page right now, but I am signed in as Brenton. And so this page might look different to me depending on whether or not I'm friends with Jake. So if I am friends with Jake, then there should probably be, you know, the ability to write on his wall. And I should be able to see more things. If I'm not friends with Jake, then maybe it should just not have me. Maybe I can see some of his wall options depending on if we want to give that permission. But what we certainly need is we need add as a friend. So like when I'm not Jake's friend, I need to be able to do a friend request.
Right.
So I think what we need to do is we need to pay Paul to give us like 10 more page designs so that we have like all of the features of Facebook built out. Or you can think through all that stuff on your own. It's a lot to think through.
Yeah.
But that's a great question. And the fact that you asked that question, I see Paul's doing the eyes thing. Yeah, the fact that you're asking that question tells me that you're thinking exactly the right thoughts to continue building this Facebook clone.
Right. Another question. I think this is part of the homework, but like, let me just ask. So once the friend request is rejected, would it let the other person know? Or, I mean, once you accept it, of course you become friends, but
Right.
when you're rejected, does it let the other person know, or
You know, I think
staying pending?
that I don't know what Facebook actually does. So we should figure out what Facebook actually does. But I think you could. I mean, you're building a clone, so you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah,
But what does
true.
anybody know what Facebook does? If you try to friend somebody and they reject you,
Yeah, someone is rejected, you can see it.
No, it does not tell
You
you.
don't see it?
It does not tell you
doesn't tell
if
you whether you they reject it or unfriend you. I don't think Facebook actually lets you know.
can you then request again, or does it not give you that? Does it hide that option?
I'm not sure.
See the user square, friend square. If you respond me, if you are rejected, still you see the reject one, the friend request.
the whole notification of like you send a request to this person will be removed. So you'll not be able to see if that
Yeah, I
person.
think we have the option to just remove
you
the
see,
entire friend request instead of getting the rejected
someone
notification.
can reject for you. What happened on your friend square? It's gone or still you see a friend request?
It's gone.
Keep on. It's gone.
It's gone.
That means you know that they rejected someone. Yeah.
Yeah, it don't show up in it.
But you can do whatever you think makes sense. Maybe you don't like the way Facebook does it.
Yeah. Facebook is trying to get not to get people's feelings hurt. So
Yeah. You
just
can make
hype
your
it.
clone can be called Angry Book, and it just automatically rejects no matter what you do. And it sends an insult too.
Right.
Or friendly book. How about that? We'll make a friendly book where it accepts it no matter what. Cool. Well, you know, as we got into this, the friendship joins, I can see a lot of value in it. I think it would have worked it probably would have worked just as well if we had had the list of friends directly on the user and we just maintained that. There might have been some extra logic around you would have had to check both friends all the time to make sure kind of how the connection was set up. So it just would have been a different way of building it. It would have been equally as valid. And a lot of times with database design, you run into this sort of issue where you can see 2 or more, sometimes 5 ways you could build something using the database. And you don't necessarily know all of the implications of what the data structure is going to be right away. And so you have to spend sometimes significant amount of time thinking through, well, if we build it this way, what's going to happen? And sometimes you even build it out both ways and see which one is better. I can tell you in some of the apps I built, I've had conversations with coworkers that have lasted multiple days. Like, and I don't mean just like one conversation for an hour and then another conversation for an hour. I mean, the whole day was just talking about a database design decision. And then the next entire day was still talking about the database design decision. So there have been database design decisions and conversations like that have lasted many days. And then we finally thought we understood everything, thought we had seen all of the possible problems with each result, picked something, built it, and then 4 weeks later decided that we made the wrong decision, that we picked the
Wow.
wrong solution, and we should have gone the other way, but it's too late now, and so we're kind of stuck with the wrong way. And that's the other thing, is sometimes like the wrong way to do it is a little bit more difficult, but you can usually still make it work. So that's a tricky thing with database design, is there's like better and worse ways, and there's always trade-offs, but even the wrong way, you can usually still get it to work.
Okay.
Paul said, I agree. And even if you have decided on a decision, I think he's talking about the database thing I was just mentioning,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
client can come back with additional feature, and boom, you have to start over, back to the drawing board on the database. Happens to be every time with clients. Yeah. So databases are hard. I read a book on bubble databases, and I really loved this one suggestion he gave. It was Peter Omley. And he said, think through all the options, but the best way to learn is to just do it. And also he said, you can't always know the answer ahead of time. And so don't let that stop you from just building it. Because you could debate how to build the database back and forth forever and ever and never actually build it. Or you can just build it. And yeah, maybe you build it the wrong way and you regret it. And if that happens, fix it later. So that gave me a lot of confidence to just not worry too much about getting everything perfect and just start building it. And the more you build, the better sense you'll get of what kind of structures make sense. Well, I'm going to say goodnight to y'all, and I'll see you next week.
All right. See you.
See you, bro.
Everyone.
Bye.
All right, thank you.